Okay, well, back to healthcare this morning, and there are some new concerns about massive government expansion as the feds begin implementing now President Obama's healthcare law. Agencies like the IRS and the Health and Human Services Department are teaming up because they have to get this process underway. They've got to figure out who's insured, who isn't insured, who needs to be taxed or fined, or however you want to look at it. But one Republican lawmaker says that they are already off to a costly and cumbersome start.
They were given $1 billion implementation money. That money is gone already on additional bureaucrats and IT programs, computerization for the implementation. There's already 13,000 pages of regulations, and they're not even done yet.
Sounds promising, right? Joined now by Doug Schoen, who's a former pollster to President Bill Clinton and a Fox News contributor, and Justin Sayfie is a former spokesman for Jeb Bush and the publisher of SayfieReview.com. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Happy 4th. Good to see you
Morning,
both.
Martha.
So, Doug, does some of this make you glad that Hillary Clinton's health care didn't pass when you were there and you didn't have to deal with the implementation?
Well, this is fraught with peril. We don't know how the insurance exchanges are going to be organized. There was uncertainty certainly back in the early 90s when I was working with Bill Clinton, but the uncertainty is greater now. The penalties are relatively onerous. And no surprise, Martha, both candidates, I think, in their own way, want to stay away from this issue till after the election.
But no doubt, Justin, this is going to be something that Mitt Romney is going to want to focus on because it is difficult to sort of demonstrate to people exactly what it's going to add in terms of federal government oversight and bureaucracy and money and cost and all of this because it won't kick in until after the election.
Well, that's true, but the implementation process has to start now. So the federal government is going to have to start putting out those regulations. The bill itself is over 2,000 pages. We expect to have thousands of pages of new federal regulations. They're going to have to start hiring up the new federal bureaucrats. And obviously, they're going to start having to talk about who's going to get taxed additionally, small businesses and others, if they don't fulfill the mandate. There's been so much attention on the mandate that I don't think people have really appreciated how much of a government expansion this is going to be in terms of spending, in terms of bureaucrats, and in terms of thousands of pages of regulations that will make healthcare lawyers' eyes glaze over.
I mean, Doug, you know, conservatives lost the battle, obviously, in the Supreme Court. So that there's no doubt in my mind that what they're going to try to do over the coming months ahead of the election is to sort of seize on what it's all going to mean. And you see some of this backlash coming from some of the Republican governors, like Rick Scott, who are already saying, and Scott Walker, who are already saying, we're not going to, you know, have that Medicare buck passed to us to deal with in our state. How do you see this playing out politically in terms of the demonstration of what it means in terms of government and increased cost?
I think there are two things. I think Justin's right. The Republican right is obviously very upset. Polls show the American people relatively evenly divided, slightly against the law. But the real question, Martha, is the one that Justin didn't answer, which is what is Mitt Romney's replacement? What will he do differently other than just repeal? Because you can't say to the American people, well, we don't like the bill, so repeal it. There's got to be a substitute.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Justin, you want to address that?
Well, sure. I think that that is a legitimate issue in terms of what Mitt Romney's plan is going to be. But I think that most people, and at least in the Republican Party, I think the first step to putting in a market-based or a more patient-based healthcare system is to repeal the monstrosity of the 2,000-page bill with all of the big government regulations and taxes that it requires. So I agree that candidate Romney, Governor Romney, is going to have to explain that a little bit better, but at the same time, I think the Republicans are energized to undo what they see as a massive intrusion of government unnecessarily to fix the health care
How they
problem.
undo it, how they want to undo it's going to be a big question in the coming months. Thanks so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Justin. Good to see you, Doug.
Happy 4th to you both.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Happy 4th.
Take care.